Hey folks, it's a rainy Wednesday night and I was just sitting and chilling in my living room and I thought I'll just chill out and just watch some Diddy videos and see what the latest is with that. Like that J-Lo knows something, hey? But she doesn't talk. None of these celebrities talk. They all delete their Twitter like Usher and Pink and all that, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. But I thought I'll fire up my laptop and I'll talk a bit about a post. I made a Facebook post yesterday saying how annoyed I was with somebody that I used to work with in the mainstream media. But I say that almost every day. It's been going on 4 years. I've been saying this stuff. But this was a comment. This was an interview with John Rustad by Johal from CKNW. So I'll play that for you, some little snippets. And yeah, let's get into it.
Like my friend Anita Krishna in Canada, she worked for a global news or a big news network. She started to ask just regular questions. She's like, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? We're a news organization. Isn't that what we do as a news organization? And she got fired for that, of course.
Crazy.
Of course I did. Thank you, Jimmy, for saying that on the Joe Rogan show. And thank you, Jimmy, for all that you do. But anyway, getting back to Johal, whatever, he's got this show on CKNW, but I was like so furious with how he was speaking to John Rustad, not because it's John Rustad, but just how do you speak to anyone like that, So let's have a look.
John, I get where you're coming from, but I just think there's so much more to talk about here. Why go back to COVID? Like, people want to move away from it. Well, if you look at Dr. Henry.
Excuse me, who wants to move away from it? Who are the people that want to move away from it? For the people that nothing really happened to you and you lived your life, okay, fine. I know people like that. The people that are in the I took it, I'm fine club. What's your problem? Let's move on. But there are millions of people that was not their experience. That's where they couldn't say goodbye to their husbands, to their grandmothers. They couldn't get into hospitals, couldn't get into care homes, had their businesses decimated, had everything taken from them, were fired. And you're sitting here going, let's go back. Why are you going back? Why are you looking back? Please.
Polling. She does better than you. She does better than Mr. Evie. She certainly did better than Kevin Falcon and all of them. Jordan Peterson.
Yep.
So why do you want to go to this?
So, Jazz, it's interesting.
I'm sorry. I'll play it again. He's looking at polls. What polls are you looking at? How many people were polled? 100 people? 1,000 people? How many? What was the percent that polled that? And who were they? Where was this poll based? Victoria? What are the numbers? What poll, I would like to be shown, you can show me this, would have results that people like Bonnie Henry more than Jordan Peterson and John Rustad? I'd like to see that poll. What are you talking about, Johal?
I'm not the one that's talking about yesterday's issues. I want to talk about today's solutions that we need for people in British Columbia. And that's why I did focus on things like, for example, how we're going to address the addictions problem and bring an end to the people who are dying from the addictions. That's why I'm addressing affordability, to make sure that people can have an opportunity to be able to live in this province and have a roof over their head. And it's why we are addressing affordability with getting rid of the carbon tax and the low carbon fuel emission standard, giving people 36 cents a litre break on their fuel tax. These are the things that we want to be able to do in British Columbia, and that's why I'm talking about them.
John, I get where you're coming from, but I just think there's so much more to talk about here. Why go?
Yeah, these are the things that are important to people: the carbon tax, the economy, buying a house. Let's look at the other clip here too. So that was the one clip, but here's the next one.
Irresponsible, and you're like, you and I have been caucus members for. You're a smart guy.
Patronizing.
Saying those things.
So I looked at it from a perspective of, Bonnie Henry, and I think this government believes that people who have decided to have their own choice in terms of whether they should be vaccinated or not shouldn't be working in the healthcare system. And that's why we want to hire these people back.
Yep.
We need everybody we can in the system, but it was used as an excuse to have these people removed from our healthcare system. And I think that's wrong. We have a crisis in healthcare. We need every single person we can working in our system.
But she has made a decision. She is an educated human being with lots of experience on SARS, Ebola, and I covered SARS when I was in China.
What did you learn about SARS? How was it transmitted? And how was that different than where did this virus come from, mister?
When you compare us to other jurisdictions in the world, have been generally healthy. We were able to open up our economy. We've done well
Oh,
overall.
look at our economy.
Is that where you want to go? Like, you've announced some interesting policy announcements last 2 or 3 days. Why do you need to go here where you want to fire Dr. Bonnie Henry? You want to pander to what some would argue a vocal minority. Like, I think you're just better than that, John, as a human being and as an elected official. I really do.
You know,
I think you're better than that. You should be a better
every other
interviewer.
jurisdiction in North America removed the restrictions and hired back their healthcare workers, except for BC? What science were they following that Bonnie Henry wasn't? Okay, that's the question here. And to me, we have a serious problem with the healthcare system. We need to make sure that we have everybody we can working in the system, which is why we did this. But it's the same thing I look at, you know, when with regards to the Rustad rebate. We need to make sure we're doing everything we can to service people in this province, whether it's healthcare workers or whether it's making sure that people can afford to put food on their table, and make sure that, you know, we have that tax relief that's needed for things like rent and for the mortgages, so that we can help people in society.
Yep. What's wrong with that? Oh gosh, how dare you say stuff like that? Oh my God, that sounds terrible. Help people in society, make life affordable, you know, help fuel the economy. Dr. Bonnie Henry, she should keep her job. And there is Jazz Johal licking the Bonnie Henry for whatever reason. Why would you be doing that? Now, this video that I'm going to play for you is, you know, so John, you know, this video has gone around, the news has run with it. People are well aware that Rustad would get rid of Bonnie Henry should he be elected. And most people that I know are in support of that. The people I know that are not in support of that have no idea what I'm even talking about, because they're floating through life and they know really nothing. And the other people are too scared to think or say or have any opinions on it. They just want to move past this because it's very uncomfortable. Odessa Orlowitz posted this on her Facebook. So thank you for posting this whole video that I'm going to play a little bit of. This is an interview John Rustad did June 18th, 2024. And it's with Philip Davidson, the president of BCPS, Employees for Freedom Society. It's a nonpartisan nonprofit group, and they advocate for medical privacy and bodily autonomy. That sounds awful. How dare you? Okay, so let's have a look at what John Rustad had to say here.
Well, there is an awful lot that needs to change. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And I don't look at it as being conservative or liberal or NDP or green. It's just to stand for what's right and make sure government's focused on the average everyday person. But I'll talk specifically about healthcare because I think there's a lot of changes that are needed in healthcare. There's only one jurisdiction in the world that I could find that comes anywhere close to following what we do in Canada, and that's North Korea. When you look around at our results, we've got great healthcare workers in the system, but the system itself is in a crisis. The system itself, quite frankly, is collapsing. So you look at other jurisdictions that I think are better than what we do, and particularly those are our European models, Australia, Scandinavia, which are universal healthcare. In other words, single payer, available and accessible by all, but delivered by both public and private. And I think we need to be looking at moving our healthcare system in that direction. There's a doctor who I'm hopeful will end up running for us, a surgeon, and he would get 8 hours of surgery time a week. Could very easily be doing 20, 30, or even 40 hours, but that was all he was given in the public system. And I think we need to be able to utilize our healthcare professionals to their fullest extent and in the services that can be provided. There's another surgeon that I talked to just last week. He specializes in spinal injuries and neck injuries. He gets 1 surgery day a month. So two surgery days every 2 months. And in the same facility he's working in, there's another doctor there who gets 12 days a month of surgery time to do gender affirming surgeries.
So that surgeon gets 1 day a month to do neck and spinal surgeries, 1 surgery day, but the gender affirming guy gets 12 days a month. Okay, how do you square that?
And so that's why I think we need change. I guess the last piece I'll just say on the healthcare stuff, it was about 1.5 years ago when the court and Brian Day, with the province and Brian Day were in court. And the province essentially argued that the system was more important than patient suffering. And I think that's completely wrong. I think our healthcare system needs to be focused on the patient and not the system. When COVID hit, nobody really knew what was going to happen. We saw the stories on the media, all of the horror stories that were being told, and so everybody was pretty worried about what was going on. And so when
like, one thing about the COVID numbers is that we would wait for Keith Baldry to give the COVID numbers to the producers, and then we'd put the graphic on the air, 20 new cases and 4 deaths. But we never tell you anything about the death. We would never say the ages, where they contracted it, what was going on, how they got it, who they were. We just say, 50 new cases, and sadly, 7 people have died. And it's like, what is behind these numbers? I used to like pull my hair out running around there asking about, where are we getting these numbers? Like, why, how come you're not telling me anything about the deaths? Because I believe that these are probably false PCR positives. But at the time I didn't, we don't have any, I didn't know, but I just thought I knew what they were doing to the PCR cycles, But I would say that people in the newsroom didn't really know. Some of them didn't really clue in. They just thought we were just reporting what the cases were. But I would always be like, are you not curious who the people are? When every day on the newscast we'd say 7 dead. Are you not? Who are they? In their 80s? Are they in their 30s? Who are these people? Why would we never break that down in the news? Of course, that was a question that nobody wanted to answer.
Mandates started coming down, when the process started coming down, it became one of those things where we started thinking, okay, how do you oppose this when you don't know what the information is and what's going on? It was shortly after that I had a conversation with Dr. Bonnie Henry, and then realized that, wait a second, something doesn't seem to be quite right with this, especially when we got into the mandates on vaccines. Now, I've had 3 shots of the vaccine. I wish I hadn't. Quite frankly, that's one of the things that's changed in my thinking. The so-called vaccine, the COVID.
And he's not alone. Many people feel the same way.
When I talked to Bonnie Henry about it, I started to realize that it wasn't so much about trying to get herd immunity or trying to stop the spread, but it was more around shaping opinion and control on the population. And she said to me at that time, she said, well, she was hoping, this was in 2021, she said, I was hoping it would be in the fall, but now it looks more like it'll be spring of 2022. I think that was the timing of it all. Then at that point, I asked her about healthcare workers, and I said, well, once we move beyond, are we going to be hiring back our healthcare workers? And she just flatly said no.
Wow.
And I said, well, why? And she said, well, because if healthcare workers aren't prepared to take the vaccine, then they probably shouldn't be working in the healthcare field. It wasn't about site safety. It was about ideology.
Yeah.
It was about what her opinion of is who should be working in the healthcare field. So all of this, of course, shaped a lot of my thinking around this. Didn't make any sense to me that 600 people could go into a Costco, but 50 people couldn't get together in a church.
That's right.
It didn't make sense to me that 600 people could go into a Costco, but small businesses had to shut down. That might have 2 or 3 people in a small business.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are frustrated. Many people feel they were duped, cajoled by government. So my position on the vaccine mandates is, should I have the honor of forming government, we will drop the mandates on day one of forming a government. They do not need to be in place. We will be looking for a new chief medical officer in this province. Bonnie Henry, from my perspective, should not be in that position. And we will be offering a job back to any of the healthcare workers who would like to come back and work with us in British Columbia.
And I've never really heard a politician sort of say it so bluntly, say, I regret getting it. I'd like to form a committee to investigate and look into the COVID response and offer compensation, but it's not only like healthcare workers, bus drivers, a lot paramedics, a lot of people in many different industries. Even our delivery guy at my job that I have now had to get it for his delivery job, and he drives around. He's a courier. He's by himself, and he had to get it, and he regrets it. He told me that in the elevator the other day. It's like everybody was knocked on their ass because of this for no good reason. So for Jazz Johal to speak to this man in that way, I've lost respect for him. I've lost respect for people in the media with their stupid poison mind attitude. And Bonnie Henry should absolutely be fired, without a doubt, without question. She sucked at her job. She ruined the economy. She ignores you. She wants to go on to farms and friggin' PCR test cows and stuff like that. She's absolutely some sort of she's absolutely unqualified. She's just not the right person. She's gone all crazy with the safe supply and giving fentanyl to children. She is absolutely the wrong person, but she must be some sort of installed puppet, because I can't see anyone who's a decent, normal human being doing the things that she does. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video today. Please check out my links in the description. You can subscribe to me for $3 a month if you like. There's something, a link in there called Fuel the Fund. You can find my link tree in there. You can always message me on Facebook. I'm really easy to find, and you can look at, people are messaging me, and you can message me on Twitter also if you like. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And thank you so much. We'll see you next time.